DDEV. What's DDEV? In this video, I will give you an overview what DDEV is all about, why it even exists, and how you can start using it for your local development for PHP projects like the recently launched Drupal CMS and others. If you are a web professional, a developer, and also digital strategist, one of your problems is how is your development workflow built and how do you actually work locally? And DDEV is exactly for that. So as the website DDEV.com mentions, it's a Docker-based PHP development environment. So it's using containers, superpowers with zero required Docker skills, environments in minutes, multiple concurrent projects, and less time to deployment. We at NetNode, the agency I run, we use DDEV in all our projects. Why? For us, it's the de facto standards for PHP projects. We are mainly working with Drupal and also Symfony stuff. And DDEV is very, very powerful to just get your project started. There are other solutions out there. For example, there is also Lando. Maybe you came across Lando in the past. There is also Doxal. It's basically a competitor or an alternative solution. We actually started to adopt Doxal many, many years ago. Soon after, switched to Lando. Until maybe roughly a year ago, where we decided we go to DDEV. We decided to go with DDEV because we think it's the most advanced and most stable Docker-based local development solution. So why using DDEV again? Well, depending on how long you are in the industry as a developer, there are many ways how you can work locally. When I started back in the days, I really had to manage my local development environment myself on my Mac. So I had to install MySQL, I had to install PHP, I had to make sure that the routing works, that I could put in localhost and then it's actually opening up the site. And this was quite a pain. So you had to manually manage everything locally yourself. And not only me, but actually every developer has to do that. So it's a huge time investment to actually install it and also keep it updated. The second issue then is, okay, you have multiple projects locally and you want to use different PHP versions. Back then it was like PHP 4 and PHP 5 came out, or different MySQL versions, or even different databases, Postgres and others. And so there is this concept of containerization, Docker, so it's a very big topic in the DevOps industry, and most of the developers came across or actually use it. But then the question is, how do I standardize that on a local machine and even make kind of an environment, a development environment? And this is exactly when the guys behind DDEV started to think about that. Just recently, there was a podcast by the Drop Times, a video, I will link it in the description, with one of the founder, Ray Fay, I've just forgot the name, sorry. And he explained the whole history behind it and why it was created, etc. It's a very interesting podcast. And so let's use it and see how it works. So I go to get started. This is super nice documentation. So depending on the platform you have, I run on Mac. Then you have to install Docker locally. You don't have to go with OrbStack. I think this is just an alternative Docker engine, a container engine. So myself, I use the Docker desktop. So here you see my different containers running. You have to have that. And you can simply test that by going Docker and see if the actual command is actually available. So I can also do a Docker ls, and then I see, okay, Docker is actually working. But you need to install Docker. ideally you have brew, and then you can install it. And then you can see, okay, what Docker version you have, and voila, it's there. And then you also have to install DDEV. You can use it with brew again, or you can simply run this command, and then you see DDEV as a command is running, right? That's nice. And then, for example, I can do a DDEV ls, and then I see all the projects I have on my machine. And I see already that the CMS project, which is the container, or which is the project I'm in, which is the Drupal CMS package. And then I can do different things. If the container is already running, which is the case here, I can do DDEV launch. And then it's opening up the site, the actual website, and voila, I'm now, I have an up and running environment to start coding with. So I can also then stop it, and then I just open up the Docker desktop beside, and now you see that it's here stopping the containers. First it's stopping the DB and then also the web server, and now you see it's no longer running. So I can then again do DDEV start to publish it again, or run it again. Voila. And then here it is. And DDEV is doing all the magic behind the scenes. If you are more into DevOps, to very simplify it, it's in the end Docker Compose, and you have a traffic web server who does the routing in front of it. You could create that infrastructure yourself if you are familiar with DevOps topics, but why? Why that? Because DDEV comes with lots of additional features, and here are some cool things. So first of all, you have a lot of commands that help you doing stuff. I can't go into all of them, but one thing I want to mention is, for example, there is the DDEV describe. And here you see now I'm on the project CMS, and I have a web container running. I see exactly the configuration, very nice. I see the DB, and then I also have something like MailPit, which is a mail catcher, if I want to say it like that. So I can, if I use SMTP within the application, I can catch the mails, and I would see the outgoing mails that come in. Very, very handy for local development. And obviously there are different entry points, so you can use this stuff here. I just do DDEV ls. And as I said before, there is also the router. So the router is basically the traffic container. So traffic is a reverse proxy, and you can also open up that and see what is configured automatically when using DDEV. So then, for example, you can go to the HTTP routers, and then, for example, you see here one route that is then configured as this DDEV site. So the site I'm actually opening up here. And this is all happening in the background. There is a lot of Docker magic, like containerization magic, and DDEV is a layer on top of that to make that accessible, easier accessible for us developers. So just one thing I want to show, and for that I open up the code rather quickly. There is a folder in the project. So when you have a DDEV project configured, there is a .ddev folder, and here the DDEV itself is creating all sorts of folders. But the important part is actually the config YAML, which is this file. So here you can define basically the container specification of your local DDEV project. So here you see, first of all, the name, then you have the type. So there are different templates or types, Drupal 11, Drupal 10, Drupal 9. I will show it in a minute. Then what is the Docker root, PHP version, And by the way, if I want to check out a new PHP version, I simply change it to 8.3. I can quickly demo that. So I have to stop the container. And then I switch my config to PHP version 8.4. I haven't tested that before. I assume it will work. Same for the database. You can choose your MariaDB or MySQL, whatever you want, composer version, etc. So now I save the config YAML and I do a DDEV start. And what's happening now, it's downloading or building the PHP container or the web server container because I have a new PHP version. And so now it's starting up. And then I will describe it. So I do DDEV describe again, and then now I have PHP 8.4. Then I can do DDEV launch, and I can now check my application with a new PHP version. How nice is that? And I see now there seems to be some issues with the latest PHP version, with the current version I have of Drupal CMS locally. And yeah, if I remember back to handle different PHP versions with multiple projects in parallel, this was a hassle. DDEV takes that away from me. It's fast. Everything is managed for me. There are lots of additional configuration if you want to, for example, use Xdebug and additional features. I won't go into detail in this video, but DDEV has all the features you need for productive local development. So this is really, really super powerful. Also, if you want to define some PHP ini stuff, max execution time, there is ways to inject that. Basically all aspects you want to configure or replace, there are mechanisms out of that, and you will find more information about it in the documentation. One thing I actually wanted to demo is, so I have a brand new folder here, and let's assume I want to start a complete new project. I can do DDEV config, and DDEV config will create this config YAML file I was talking about before. So let's say, I want a new project, DDEV demo, doc root, let's assume it's web. And now you see all the project type templates. So DDEV the history is mostly in Drupal, but now they also support, for example, Craft CMS or Laravel, and also Magento and Shopware and other PHP frameworks actually. So now let's say we go with Drupal 11. And now if I open up the editor, what it created is the very basic boilerplate, if I wanted to say it like that, DDEV folder with the config file. And again, you see here the PHP versions and everything. And then the web is obviously empty, but because it knows it's a Drupal 11 site, it already generated the correct settings, PHP or the DDEV equivalent with the correct database configuration, so you can get it up and running. Obviously, what's missing now is the actual code. So the code itself, and this is also, let's say, if I want to start with Drupal CMS. So let's open that up. I go to platform, and then I go to Drupal CMS. And now I want to read the documentation, and then I want to install the Drupal CMS. And here they say install Drupal CMS locally with DDEV. So here you can either download the tarball, or you can download the code, set up Drupal CMS. Okay, this is already the setup. Let's check the Drupal 11 core. Getting started, and download Drupal core. So basically what I want to do now is I install that, DDEV Composer Create Project Drupal CMS. And now it takes a while because it needs to download everything. And yeah, so this is super powerful, you know. Our goal now at NetNode, or our goal was roughly a year ago, all of our projects locally, we standardize with the config YAML. We add very little documentation in the main README to how to actually start the project when you get assigned. So everybody knows I need DDEV locally running. I can then do DDEV start, DDEV launch, maybe some special commands to inject whatever configuration is additionally needed. And the workflow is so much nicer and so much smoother, very stable product. I can highly recommend go with that. The next step obviously is how can I deploy a local site I was developing on to production. And this is not part of this video. I will do another video to talk about different options, how to publish that in production. But until then, let's install DDEV. Let's play around it. Oh, actually, one thing I wanted to say, there is a extensive documentation of DDEV, very, very well written. So you should really be able to get started. All the configurations I was just talking about, the PHP version, for example, are are explained here. You can even extend it with additional add-ons. This is already advanced stuff. Actually, we at NetNode, we only use the base version. It has everything we need to run our systems. There is more information about debugging and also more information about how to actually use hosting providers out of it. There are obviously Acquia and others who offer SaaS-based hosting products. We at NetNode, we run our own hosting infrastructure. We also use container technology, and we use pipelines to trigger the deployments based on that. I might do a video about that. Let me know if you're interested, so I can share our findings and our experience on our best practices on how to do that. See you soon, and until then, consider subscribing this channel. Thank you. Bye.